Welcome to 3-Count Commentaries. Today, we're going to be talking about the Briscoes versus WarnerMedia. Now, I want to be honest from the beginning. I take all dirt sheet rumors with a grain of salt, so this could not be true. But it is what the dirt sheets are saying. So what is the dirt sheets saying? The dirt sheets are saying there's a reason why we haven't seen FTR versus the Briscoes, and why the Briscoes probably will not be around AEW anytime soon. So according to the dirt sheets, they said, quote, Fightful Select reports that a person of influence at WarnerMedia did not want Mark and Jay Briscoe signed to AEW, mainly due to Jay's homophobic tweets from 2013. Jay ended up apologizing for those tweets shortly thereafter at an ROH show. It was noted that prior to the ROH sale, there was talk of that AEW did not have plans to sign the Briscoes. There's no word if there's even interest from AEW, but the WarnerMedia higher up not wanting the Briscoes signed would be an issue, even if there was interest. ROH sources noted that the Briscoes credit, they hadn't caused any issues for the company since those tweets. One AEW source added that the Briscoes were made for TV, but you can't blame AEW or WarnerMedia. All right, so what exactly did Jay Briscoe say? Well, Jay Briscoe kind of went to the next level. He went a little beyond what I think is, acceptable behavior. So let's talk about this. So Jay Briscoe says, this is one of the, I think it was two tweets. Yeah, there was two tweets in 2013. One of them saying, damn, there's a lot of fags out in New York today. What the fuck? Before that, he says, the Delaware Senate passed a bill yesterday that allows same-sex couples to get married. If that makes you happy, then congratulations. Try and teach my kids that there's nothing wrong with that, and I'll fucking shoot you. Yes, he threatened to shoot people who would teach his children that being gay is okay. Now, obviously, this is very, very extreme. Now, he did apologize for these comments. And it should be noted that Kerry Silken, apparently, who ran Ring of Honor for years, is openly homosexual. But Jay Briscoe said in 2013, I feel very sorry about how and who should teach kids. He said, I feel very strongly about who and how kids should be taught certain things, but I showed poor judgment by using that analogy, and I'm sorry. And then he dedicated a lot of his income from the following shows to quote-unquote anti-hate organizations. This was, again, almost 10 years ago. So apparently people are so angry at Jay Briscoe that they're going to hold a grudge for 10 years. Now, we know that the people who hold these sorts of standards and practices, if we're being honest, these people do not have consistent values. They often forgive other people. As we know that AEW has people on the roster who made rape jokes, people on the roster who have sexual assault or sexual abuse claims against them, all sorts of things. But the Briscoe brothers are known for wearing Confederate flags and not liking homosexuals. Therefore, they don't fit the brand. Now, it's obviously been stated for years that WWE had shown some interest in the Briscoes, but not much. That they have not been that interested in going to WWE anyway due to the travel schedule, and they have the farm that they take care of. This is a business for them, and that they were making decent money in Ring of Honor anyway. But now Ring of Honor is gone. All right, so now you're looking at a situation where, thankfully, there's still GCW and still some other smaller indie shows that they can work on and still do well. But if they're being blocked from AEW, then that's just AEW's loss. The Briscoe brothers are incredibly talented. And I think that holding a grudge for a decade because some guy doesn't want you teaching his kids that being gay is all right, even if he says so in an extreme term, using extreme terminology, which I think he did, I don't think you should threaten violence against those kinds of people. But I definitely see that why somebody would be against it, considering just 9 years ago we didn't want that. And if you saw my Don't Say Gay bill video, you understand we've gone far beyond merely gay people can get married and keep to themselves. We've gone far beyond that in 10 years. So if you look into trying to make this a political statement, understand that there's mission creep within organizations like GLAAD and the NAACP and all these sorts of organizations, the ADL or whatever. We go from, hey, don't hurt us, don't hit us, whatever, which is completely and totally reasonable, to you absolutely positively must believe whatever we say, and you must give us access to your children. He's not wrong when it comes to not wanting his children to be taught certain things. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't see a problem with that. The only problem I had with is him saying he's going to fucking shoot somebody who teaches his kids that being gay is okay. Like, that's very, very extreme. Now, that was 10 years ago. He was a different person 10 years ago than he is now, I'm sure. And he worked for a gay man for over a decade. And apparently if the gay man didn't have a problem, that doesn't mean anything, because again, there's no standards and no practices to this thing. So you could say, well, Kerry Silken continued to pay him, continued to give him money, continued to book him even after he made these comments. Surely this means that we should get over it. But no, that doesn't mean anything, because one person doesn't speak for the whole until they do. And that's kind of a weird position to be in when you're one of these people who are being put upon by the mob. Is if one person says, you know what, I'm offended on behalf of all gay people, somehow that's valid. But if someone says, you know what, I forgive you on the behalf of all gay people, that's not valid. And then that's something that we continue to fall into again and again when it comes to cancel culture and who gets to say what and when they get to say what. So look, if AEW doesn't want to sign the Briscoe brothers because of this comment, or because somebody in WarnerMedia doesn't want them working with them, fine. You know, I don't see a problem with AEW not signing the Briscoes. I don't see a problem with AEW signing the Briscoes. My issue here is that the cancel culture continues, that we're quote mining guys for different times in their lives without trying to figure out whether they did anything else or said anything else or whatever. Now, it is, do we know whether Mark and Jay Briscoe feel this way today? I don't know. You know, but I know that their characters for a long time wore Confederate flags. This was one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like them. It's like their characters were always kind of backwoods, redneck, but they're from Delaware. So the Confederate flag doesn't even make sense for them to be wearing. And that's kind of what made me laugh about it. It's like, you know, they're hicks from a farm in Delaware who rock the Confederate flag. Of course they would say stuff like this about gay people. But we have a society now that is hypersensitive to issues, and we're overcorrecting. And that's what cancel culture is. It's an overcorrection of people who probably shouldn't have said stuff now being quote unquote held accountable for things that they've said. But it doesn't apply to everyone. You know, it doesn't apply to people who have made other kinds of comments in the past. It doesn't apply to people who we like, you know. It doesn't apply to certain people with certain letters next to their names. So ultimately, the Briscoes are going to be fine. You know, as they get older, of course, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But as Ring of Honor died, GCW grew, and they jumped on the GCW train. So if AEW doesn't want them, that's fine. The GCW crowd will gladly take them and will gladly continue to pay them and pay to see them. So AEW is only hurting themselves, and that's the one way that capitalism kind of can fix cancel culture is, you want to play the cancel culture game? Okay, everybody's not going to play it, so eventually you're going to hurt yourself. And AEW can sign as many people as they want, saying that they don't need the Briscoes, but ultimately the people really do want that Briscoes versus FTR match, and likely somebody else will get it. And if that can help another company, then we're going to do that. So WarnerMedia, if this is true and they don't want the Briscoes on AEW, they have every right to do so. They're the ones signing the checks. They're the one paying for all of the superstars that they've signed. That's fine. That just gives somebody else an opportunity to catch up and use a long-term story to build up to the Briscoes versus FTR. And if Tony Khan tries to block FTR from working with the Briscoes, then I think we'll see where his true wrestling loyalties lie, whether he really is a fan of the business or whether he just wants to use his own toys and try to make money for himself. So, and I'm pretty sure he will. Now, to continue that line of thought, what sort of position would the Briscoes have in New Age Ring of Honor? Considering now that Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor, if it's a WarnerMedia thing and they don't want the Briscoes on WarnerMedia, then you have to ask the question, what about the ROH footage? The ROH footage has plenty of the Briscoes. It'll also have Jay Briscoe's apology because he apologized in public at a Ring of Honor show. And it will have the Briscoes in Confederate flags on Ring of Honor shows. So if you don't want them live on your pay-per-view today when they're worth a lot more money and could probably actually draw you an audience, but you're willing to get the broke-ass, bum-ass Briscoes from 10 years ago when they were rocking Confederate flags and they had shotguns and they were cussing and doing a lot of other stuff. Hey, you know what? So Tony Khan has to deal with that. The Briscoes are one of the reasons why Ring of Honor was so beloved as a wrestling promotion. And you can't delete them from the history books of ROH and still keep that property worth anything. So if they don't want the Briscoes on WarnerMedia, does that include Ring of Honor on HBO Max? Does that include that? So that's the question that I want to think of, that I was thinking of. And then, of course, like I said, I got to go back to it because I'm doing a stream of consciousness here. What is Tony Khan going to do with Ring of Honor? You know, if he's going to continue the promotion as being a live touring promotion, are we saying now that the Ring of Honor tag team belts, which are still held by the Briscoes, that they're going to have to drop them? You know, are we going to get rid of pretty much the only real Ring of Honor originals that still remain from the era that may have been Danielson and Punk and Samoa Joe and Adam Cole and all those guys? We're going to get rid of those guys? Okay. You know, you could. And so you have to ask the question. That's really why I question whether this WarnerMedia thing is true. Because it means it's a lot of business that goes into this. If you say we don't want the Briscoes on WarnerMedia, we don't want it on an AEW program because of past homophobic slurs or whatever and extreme threats towards gay people. All right, does that include the Ring of Honor library? Does that include anything that Tony Khan may want to do with the Briscoes in the future? You know, maybe they don't want them on AEW TV, but what if he goes to WarnerMedia and says, hey, I want to put Ring of Honor on your television. I want to run Ring of Honor on HBO Max. Does that mean that we have to now get rid of the Briscoes? You have to ask what this stuff means. You know, like when WWE sort of put the blanket ban on Chris Benoit, it went from marketing Chris Benoit, so they don't use his name, but he still appears on the shows. He's still in the Royal Rumbles. He's still at the WrestleManias. His name just does not appear. So, you know, they don't market and choose to use his name. Or are they going to do the same thing with the Briscoes, where you're going to have hours and hours of ROH tape that's not going to feature Mark and Jay Briscoe by name? I don't know. So that's why I question whether this stuff is really real or not, because it has far-reaching implications, further-reaching implications than we would actually like to admit and like to discuss. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.